How many of you are able to recognize the man in the photograph? I hope most of you are able to recognize him. But for those of you who do not know who he is Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize of 2014. He won the Nobel Peace Prize for his work towards upholding children's rights universally and for his work in ensuring universal education. He states that his motivation towards winning the prize is for the struggle against the suppression of children and young people and for the right of all children towards education. Now, you must be wondering why I started this presentation by invoking Mr. Kailash Satyarthi. The reason I am invoking him is because he is one of the pioneers who has worked towards upholding children's rights in India, globally, and in low-income countries across the world. Much of the world's population, especially in poor countries, is made up of children and young people. And to achieve a peaceful world, it is crucial that the rights of children and young people are to be respected and upheld. From the practice of a pediatric practitioner, we work with children day in and day out. And children's rights is the most important topic which is often neglected in our curriculum. But it is important that all medicos, all doctors, and the general public at large is aware of children's rights. To quote another great eminent world leader, John F. Kennedy had said that children are the world's most valuable resource and the best hope for the future. Now, being the hope for the future, we must undoubtedly uphold the rights of these individuals, these children, because they are the future and our future lies upon their shoulders. Now, before going into the topic, I would like to make a disclaimer that all the images what I have used throughout the presentation are obtained from Google Images. And the intention of certain images which I am highlighting in between is to highlight the burden of certain problems faced by children globally. Throughout the presentation, I have enumerated about the different children's rights which are there and accordingly about the challenges which are faced at each stage which are relevant to that particular right. The intention is not to defame any particular community or to defame any particular nation for lack of action, but to collectively bring attention to the burden of the problems and at the same time to ensure that we collectively work towards upholding children's rights in the future. Now, we are talking so much about children's rights, and these are defined by the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. Now, to understand what this is a bit more in detail, we all know that Human Rights Treaty sets out the civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights of children. And by definition, this UNCRC, as we call it, defines a child as any human under the age of 18 unless the age of majority is attained earlier as per a local national legislation. Now, as a whole, we know that children are considered anyone who is under the age of 18 unless proven otherwise in certain countries. Now, within India, the first major step towards this happened in 1991 where India attempted to join the League of Ethical Labour Market by ratifying this United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children in 1992. Now, the aim of this is to ensure that the suffering of children is alleviated and giving all children a healthy, happy, and safe environment that nurtures all children physically, mentally, and emotionally. Now, if we all recollect the WHO definition of health, health is defined as a complete state of well-being, social, mental, physical, and emotional, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Other definitions of health have also included economic security in this definition, and all of these points do find a strong resonance in this convention. Now, when we talk about child rights in particular, it goes much beyond general human rights, and it tries to ensure fair and proper treatment of people across the world and promoting their well-being. Now, though we define children as just anyone who is under the age of 18 years of age, it takes more than human rights to give these individuals their due share because they are vulnerable population. And further, to go on enumerating it, we have classified these human rights into various articles as per the UNCRC convention. Now, I'll enumerate each of these by telling the right, which will be shown in red at the top of the slide, which article it comes under in blue, and then describing each right in detail. You'll get used to this as I go on in my presentation. Now, the first and foremost right of any child is the right to an identity. The right to an identity is protected under Article 7 and Article 8. When I say right to an identity, any child who is born anywhere in the world is entitled to a name, and is entitled to be legally registered to a government and a nationality to belong to a particular country. What I mean to say is any child will be a citizen of a particular country anywhere in the world. Now, the reason for this is not just for patriotic action, but it is because they must have the right to an identity in the form of a public record, and it ensures national support as well as access to social services for that child. Now, particularly this comes in handy where the children are there in war-torn regions. The image what you are seeing here at the bottom depicts children in a war-torn region of the world where they lack a particular identity which is being deprived to them because of geopolitical instability. It doesn't matter who these children are, what their backgrounds are, what their parents are. Each of those children whom you see in that image are entitled to a right, and they are entitled to a name, they are entitled to a family, they are entitled to a particular nationality. When they are entitled to a nationality, for geopolitical purpose, all children are entitled to a passport as well to be issued by their home nation. And I've depicted this child with a credit card because there is increased incidence of identity theft in the West. Western countries where some children who are born with a silver spoon, we do see both ends of the spectrum, but many children are born inheriting fortunes over generations. These identities are prone to be stolen, so a recent addition into this child rights is right to identity protection also, and more so in the digital era where we all live, where identities can be stolen and fraudulently marketed across the world. Now, the second right, which seems a bit more obvious, is the right to health. The right to health is defined under Articles 23 and 24 of the Convention. When I say right to health, it implies that medical care is to be provided, nutritional care is to be provided, protection to be provided from harmful habits, including narcotic drugs, right to safe working environments under the right to health are all covered under this Article 23 and 24. Now, apart from this, special care and support for children with special needs is to be included. Now, this includes specially able children, differently abled children, those with learning disabilities also. Apart from this, quality healthcare, what I am stressing on, includes drinking water, nutrition, and a safe personal environment respectively. When I say health, we do come across all these different aspects. Firstly, the right to immunizations. All children, every child must be immunized with as many vaccine preventable disease immunizations as possible. A child is entitled to adequate nutrition to ensure that his or her dietary requirements are met by 3 solid meals a day and adequate calorie and protein intake as recommended for weight and age for the child. This image what you see, a child who is clearly thirsty, deprived of water, getting drinking water from a common source. It's a very sad and pathetic state to watch. Every child is entitled to get potable water for himself or herself to ensure that he is not at risk of waterborne diseases. Out of these 4, this is undoubtedly the most sad image. A child who is clearly malnourished, clearly deprived of the basic requirements in this child, and this is clearly a child who is being deprived of his or her health status. It is these children who require their rights to be safeguarded maximally. It is these children who require government interventions. It is these children who require the help of NGOs and the support of global funds to ensure that they get their adequate share of rights and they get their adequate share of nutrition to ensure they grow well. Now, moving on to the right to education, it is defined under Article 28. The right to education covers the right to free primary education, and we all know that primary education is critical for developing discipline, life skills, while finding a safe and healthy environment to nurture a child's physiological development. The right to education also encompasses the freedom from violence, the freedom from abuse, and the freedom from neglect also. What you see is many children in a classroom, and as much as we do have many children attending schools all over the world, there are many children who are deprived of this basic necessity of basic primary education. Basic primary education must and should be a bare minimum must for any child born anywhere in the world. Now, moving on to right to a family life. This is mentioned under Articles 8, 9, 10, 16, 20, 22 and 40. Now, if not family members, these children have the right to be looked after by caretakers. and children must live with their parents until it is harmful to them, or rather I should say unless it is harmful to them, unless proven otherwise, where there are social grievances as well. Now, family reunification, that is permission for family members who are living in other countries to renew contact between family members, is critical. More so under today's COVID times where families are separated across the world, the right to a family life is essential. And under the care of a particular family, they must be provided privacy against attacks on their way of life and personal history also. Children who do not have access to any of this must get a right to special care and must be looked after properly by those who respect their ethnic group, religion, culture, and language. All over the world, there are numerous ethnic groups. There are multiple religions, multiple cultures, and multiple languages spoken all over the world. Children are not born into a particular family by choice, choosing to be born into a particular religion, a particular culture, a particular language, or a particular family. It is destiny by which these children are born where they are born, and all these children undoubtedly are equal. Every child is special, and everyone has a right to a family life. Everyone has the right to be cared by a family. Refugee children have a right to special protection and help, and in the event of misdemeanors, children have the right to seek legal counsel under a juvenile justice mechanism, ensuring fair and speedy resolution of these complaints. What you see on the left here is an ideal family. An ideal family where parents with two children loving each other, bonding with each other. The image what you see on the right is a stark contrast of that. A child alone, possibly abandoned or deserted or an orphan, struggling for his daily livelihood. The sheer contrast itself speaks volumes about the burden of the problem what we are facing and how the rights of children like this must be upheld all over the world. Now moving on to the right to be protected from violence. This is covered under Article 19 and 34. Under Article 19 and 34, protection from violence extends to even the family members, and children must not suffer from ill treatment or sexual or physical violence. This includes the use of violence as a means of discipline and covers sexual exploitation and abuse also. And under this article, the sale of children under human trafficking, child prostitution, and pornography all are strictly banned. What you see here is children who are being abused in various settings, physically by the hand in image number 1, whipped by the belt in image number 2, and the adverse effect of it, what it has on mental health of children as they grow up. These children do tend to be slow learners, they tend to be differently disabled, they do tend to be isolated from their peers, they don't open up, and ultimately it's a loss to society, it's a loss to their country, it's a loss to the economy of the world. Now, coming to the right to an opinion, as far as the right to an opinion is concerned, it is mentioned under Article 12 and Article 13. All children deserve the right to an opinion free of criticism or contempt, and in situations where adults actively decide choices on behalf of children, the children must also be considered where their opinions matter, especially as and when the age does come. Now, a child's opinion may not always be based on facts, but it is nonetheless an important source of insight for parents and must be considered. A child's voice must not be suppressed merely because he or she is a child. But to an extent, it also rather goes by the age of the child and the maturity of the child at that age. Children should get the freedom of expression as long as they are not harming others with their opinions and knowledge. Now, the first image what you see is a child adequately expressing his or her opinion, and that is to be strongly encouraged. Often in a school setting, they are given a chance to speak up to their class in a small class setting or at a school level, and that ensures that it brings out the best in the child as far as communication is concerned. It's also important for a parent to sit and talk two ways with the child, listen to the opinion, and reciprocate as well. Now, the fourth image, what I'm highlighting, is probably the new challenge with which the child's rights might need to be amended. The opinion of a child is now also being conveyed online due to access to social media, because many times we define adolescents by the age group of 10 to 19. So within this teenage age group, they do tend to come online and they do tend to express themselves as they find out more about how the world works and what their position is in the world standing. Now, considering all of this, Amendments, I think, will definitely be made in the near future with regard to protecting a child's rights online. And as far as protecting a child's rights online is concerned, definitely parental supervision is a must here, which brings me back to this image where a parent must undoubtedly be actively involved in ensuring that a child's opinions are heard. He or she feels that his or her opinion is valued, which results in an adequate and effective two-way communication. Now, the effectiveness of this two-way communication ensures that the child grows up in a healthy environment and also ensures that he or she becomes a responsible global citizen. Moving on to the right to be protected from an armed conflict, it is mentioned under Articles 38 and 39. Armed conflicts generally have a tendency to convert innocent children into refugees, prisoners, and participants, not by their own will, but these definitely contravene with the spirit of war, and it must be corrected in a safe environment. Now, if at all any countries are engaged in a war, it must ensure that children are not forced to participate in any armed struggle and must rehabilitate the children who are affected by it. The first image goes from history many years ago, where children are hiding in the bunkers during the World War. The second image depicts children who are torn apart as a result of the Vietnam War in the 60s. This image, I think, is more well known to many people. A young innocent child holding on to her teddy bear while the world around her is destroyed in Syria in recent times. Now, irrespective of the political situations that resulted in these images, one thing is clear, that all the children whom you see in this image in the 1940s, these children in the 1960s, and this child rather in the past decade, all of them are entitled to a life. None of them deserve to have their lives taken away from them because of an armed conflict. And unfortunately, all of them were caught in the middle of an armed conflict which they did not bring upon themselves. As innocent souls, they had nothing to do with what went on. These children need to be protected as a whole. Now, moving on to the right to be protected from exploitation, it's the last of the rights and is covered under Articles 19, 32, 34, 36, and 39. Exploitation is generally achieved through violent means, and protection from violence is critical for freeing children from exploitation. This tends to abuse, negligence, violence from parents, even if justified in short term achieving discipline at home. It has a long term impact on the mind of the child. Now, further, children cannot be made to work in difficult or dangerous conditions that includes a factory setting, and children can only volunteer to work doing safe chores that do not compromise their health or their access to education or to play. Exploitation also covers sexual exploitation, which is another dimension of exploitation which is prohibited because they are clearly taken advantage of. And those who are put to such hardships, that is survivors of neglect, abuse, exploitation, must receive special help to enable recovery and reintegration back into mainstream society. Now, we also do have some children within their adolescence who end up committing crimes which are against the law, but they should not be punished cruelly, and they must not receive the full-blown sentence as given by the ambit of the justice system. Now, when I say cruel punishment, I am referring to the death sentence or the life sentences, as well as even sentences which are at par with adult prisoners are not permitted. Children all over the world have special courts to address offences which are done by children as a whole. Now, what you see here in the first image is a child begging for livelihood. That is another form of exploitation, because many times children are lured into this and are definitely vulnerable when that goes on. The second image, what you see here, is children at a construction site trying to sift through rubble. The face of these children speaks all. These children who should be in schools, who should be with their families, who should be getting adequate nutrition, who should be vaccinated, who should be learning the alphabets, who should be learning nursery rhymes, are in a field working, most likely against their will. A child does not volunteer to go to work. A child should be taught how the world works. A child must get access to basic education. And this is another image of a child in a factory, specifically in the garment factory, what we know as fast fashion. It's often quite sad to sit and think that many of the clothes what we wear from posh ready-made brands, from high-quality fabrics all over the world are as a result of child labor. Looking at all this, we have to reiterate to ourselves that these children require their rights to be protected. The reason why the rights are to be protected is because many of them are not aware of their own rights. And if we do see any child being exploited, particularly sexually exploited, I'm highlighting upon this image, which was widely circulated by the government of the United Kingdom, to recognize the signs of going missing from home or going missing from school, receiving unexplained gifts, sudden behavioral changes, sudden use of drugs or alcohol, signs of physical harm, or breakdown of social relationship between friends and family. The reason I'm stressing upon this so much is, in recent times, there has been a spike of sexual exploitation all over the world to children, and it is essential that these rights are protected because these children are the most vulnerable who do not know what is happening. So it's important to say something to the authorities if you see something in particular. I'd like to make a mention that there is no gender differentiation when it comes to sexual exploitation. Boys and girls both are vulnerable. I'm not using the word equally vulnerable, I am using the word vulnerable because predators do not seek out based on gender. Predators do not seek out based on gender. Every child's life is valuable and every child has a right to his or her life. Every child has a right to ensure his or her rights are protected. With that, I come to the end of my presentation per se. Before concluding, I would like to also highlight the work of another person towards ensuring child rights and who has contributed towards children as a whole, both emotionally, their physical concerns, as well as other aspects. The man whom you see in this image is Mr. Fred Rogers, who spent almost 50 years of his life on the small screen on the television in the United States. He was popularly known for his work in the TV show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which focused upon children's rights, their emotional, physical concerns, and other aspects such as death, sibling rivalry, school enrollment, and other socially relevant aspects for a growing child. Now, he was many times the unsung hero, and generations of people saw him while growing up. I think one important image what he casted upon everyone's lives was how through various lessons, through various stories, he ensured that he made everyone feel special. And that is the essence of taking child rights back to the child as a whole. Through his show, he ensured that every child knew that he or she had an identity and that he or she was special. He emphasized upon the right to health through various shows by emphasizing on the need for immunization. He emphasized on the right to education, the importance of family, the right to be protected from violence, the steps to be taken while if a child is coming under violence. He emphasized upon how every child has a right to an opinion, how a child has a right to be protected from an armed conflict in certain episodes where he focused upon the war, and about certain steps to be taken to prevent exploitation, and about how every child should have a good environment, safe environment while growing up. He is just one of the many unsung heroes, to name a few, who have actively played a part in ensuring child rights is protected. With that, I would like to conclude by saying the eminent personalities whom I have highlighted in the presentation are not the only unsung heroes. You can also make a difference if you have heard this presentation in entirety. The next time you see a child whose rights are being violated, I humbly request you to please stand up for that child, because he or she is an innocent voice who often does not have a voice to express himself or herself. When you can make a difference to a child's life in any form, be it small or big, it goes a long way to securing our future, the future of the world, and the future of that innocent child. Thank you once again for listening to this presentation in entirety, and I hope you tune into the next video also. Thank you.